What's up guys, this is Elbro. I want to give you a quick overview about the changes coming to Stormbringer with patch 11.2, our new tier set and my impressions from PTR. There has been a change to Thorims and it will be immediately active with the patch. Windstrike will now fire a Tempest even if you're primed to Chain Lightning, and it will consume up to 10 Maelstrom. This results in a different playstyle during Ascendance because spamming Windstrike is often not optimal. If you have a Tempest ready, you want to fire it with high stacks, meaning you might have to weave in another spell like Ice Strike, Voltaic Blaze or Crash if you're low on Maelstrom. This is incredibly important in AoE and will mostly happen if you have Tempest back to back, but I expect it to be worth it in single target as well. Pre-stacking has been effectively removed with the patch. You can no longer pre-stack Tempest or Tempest progression in a plus the way you did in Season 2. There's a way to get a head start on your first Tempest, but it requires you to exit a dungeon and re-enter when the actual timer has started. But if you hated pre-stacking, you're gonna hate this strat even more. The 2-piece. Ascendance also gives you a stack of Tempest, and every 8 Awakening Storms activates Ascendance for 6 seconds. This extends your current Ascendance should it proc while it's active, and you also get the Tempest in that case. Should you cast Ascendance while it's active, its duration is overridden to 15 seconds, which is not ideal. The 4-piece. Our nature damage is increased by 5%, and Ascendance empowers our next 2 Tempests to deal extra nature damage after a short delay. This extra cast does not interact with Lightning Rod. The 4-piece is a passive damage increase to our damage. So far I don't see any reason to track the empowered Tempests. The 2-piece gives us a solid amount of extra Tempests and can extend our burst window if it happens to proc before or after Ascendance. Since proccing the set happens at the same time as getting a Tempest from Awakening Storms, you will always get 2 Tempests at the same time. This can very easily lead to Tempest waste, since it can overlap with getting a third Tempest from spending 40 Maelstrom. This is an issue that Blizzard has to look into, because losing Tempest hurts our performance noticeably. DAE versus Ascendance. During PTR and Plus testing I favored DAE. I didn't look into it specifically, but I expect it to activate more than twice as often as regular Ascendance, and thus yielding more Tempests and empowered Tempests. Ascendance is still a viable choice and offers more reliable burst windows if a dungeon requires it, but it does not have the clear upper hand on bosses anymore that made it better choice in Season 2. In overall performance I could keep up with most specs and bring one of the strongest buffs into the group. Stormbringer naturally lacks front load unless you prepare Tempest well, and this makes it look bad if your group pulls around burst CDs of Frost Decay or Marksmanship Hunter, as an example. For unexperienced Shaman players it will be straight up miserable. You might struggle to keep up with the tank if you don't keep an eye on your Tempest spooling, which got a lot more complex now because of the additional Tempests coming from our tier set. Since Windstrike now fires Tempest even in prime to Chain Lightning, you can screw your DPS if you're unfortunate with Maelstrom generation and blindly Windstriking. If you only have a little downtime between pulls, or if you're lucky to have procs at the start of pulls, your numbers will be in the upper middle range of DPS specs. Boss damage did not look amazing, even with good pre-pooling. I guess because our current 2 set is really good for single target, and because every other spec in the game got buffed on PTR compared to Season 2. While we benefit from funnel targets, we also kill them quite quickly. Our damage profile is not great for that. While this sounded mostly negative, I would currently be satisfied with the plus performance of Stormbringer if our single target or priority damage sees some improvements. In total, Stormbringer performs well and will have really good chances to get into groups as long as there are no other Shaman in the group already. That means the healer meta will probably decide what Enhancement has a chance to get into a meta comp. As for raid, the situation is quite different. Enhancement is in a terrible state. Both hero trees are at the absolute bottom of the current single target sims. Elemental recently received a massive buff of over 20%, making it one of the strongest performers, while Enhancement got nothing. At this point you will not be allowed to play Enhancement in raid, and even if we see a buff before raid hits live servers, I very much doubt it will be enough to come close to Elemental in its current state.